Okay, what we're basically going to look at here is the form, and in this particular case, I'm going to go design view on it first. Okay, on the form itself, what we've got with the form is we've got a form header, we have the details section, and we also can have a form footer. So in this particular case, there's the form header, detail, and form footer. Now, with regard to what you're seeing here, remember I'm in design view. So in this particular case, this one up here is a label. If you'll right click, you will notice on there, you can go to properties, and on the properties, you'll notice it says the name is customer ID label. A label can be changed. For example, I could change what this caption ID is, and it would not impact it. The customer ID would not impact it at all. However, this is the field customer ID. Let's say you go in and you go to properties and you change its name here. That would be the customer ID, change its name. What would happen is Access says, I'm not there. I don't understand what this is, what you're looking for. Let's say I go in here and I go in and I make this customer ID mine. Okay. Go here and we go to open view. Let's change that. I'm sorry. Hang on one second. Let me change that again. We'll change that back. And we'll put mine right here on the control source. Now watch what happens. You'll get what is referred to as name, # name ? What that basically is telling you that you have changed the field name. As an example here, we changed it even though it said customer ID. Let's go back into design view and look at that. And if we change this back, take the mine off, and we go to view, it gives us a customer ID. So be careful when you're changing fields. The other thing you need to be aware of with a field is that there are 8 on here. There's 8 little sizing areas, and there's a handle. The handle is in the upper left-hand corner. It's this big one right here that you can see. What that allows you to do is to be able to move, change, and size the actual object itself. Now, these allow you to pull it up or down, and these allow you to stretch it side to side. Or you can go ahead and go to the corner and grab it here. The handle, in the meantime, if you grab the handle, will allow you to move the object without changing its size. Okay? So there's 8 handles, and then there is the ear, or the handle itself, that you're allowed to move. So in this particular instance, that's the way you can move it around. They all have, each of the objects have those type of things on them. So let's take and let's build a new form. Let's walk through it so you guys can see it. There's a couple of ways that you can actually build a form. The first way is go to create, and you could use the create or the query wizard that you had created in chapter 1. However, what you're going to get used to is using query design. Here, not query design, I apologize. Close. We're going to do a form design. You also have some others. You have more forms. For example, multiple items, data sheet, split form, module, etc. The thing is, if you're going to do a subform, and we'll be talking about that in chapter 6, etc., a subform data sheet view actually gives your data in rows, and we'll get that at later. There is also the form design. You also have a blank ID, and you also have form wizard, which you guys are familiar with. The one we'll actually do is the form design, and it's blank in this particular instance. You say, well, gee, that's all well and good. All you have to do is, if you take a blank form and you want to go ahead and relate a table to it, right-click the corner right up here, and go into properties, and then where you see record source, you could actually hit the down arrow, and it will allow you to see all of the tables that are available in this particular assignments, billing, contact, etc. Customer. Let's say we take customer. Now, we close that. Then, if you'll notice up here, we have add existing fields. Prior to that, we would not have had anything in there. Now, you can also, now that you've got it, I clicked on the add existing field, and then I can drag into and onto the form the various fields. Let's say, for example, we want to see company, first name, last name. Notice I'm dragging one at a time. And let's say we want his address, city, state, and I'm just dragging and dropping. Okay, they look all weird, don't they? All right. This is all we want to see. So if we go ahead and do this open view, there's what it's going to look like. It's a little strange, isn't it? So we can straighten this out. Go back into design view, and what we could potentially do is grab this object. We can open up the form, make it larger by grabbing an arrow. If you notice, it's got two arrows on the side, and I just made it a lot larger. We grab the last name here, and then we have the address, we have the city, we have the state, and notice in this particular case that I'm actually crossing over the state, the city, and the state here. In other words, the city field and then the state with the option. Notice I used the handle to move that object. I just moved the label. I didn't move anything else. And then we have our zip code. So you have the ability to change multiple objects. Okay, now let's say you want to format. Let's say you want to format all the labels. All you have to do is click the first one, hold your shift key down, and click each one of them. And we've got this one, and this one. Notice city is on top of address. But we can format them at the same time. Now, if you select the same object, let's say it will give you what properties are available for the objects you collect. For example, if you took and added in here the field and the labels, it would only give you the ones that are common to both. In this particular case, I've only selected the fields or the labels themselves. I haven't gotten any of the fields at all. So we can right click, and we have some other things that you can do. For example, let's say we want to put special effects on it. Special effects is down here, and you'll notice we have a whole series of them. The first one is chosen, but we can also put a square around it by clicking that, and notice when I go into open view, there it is. But you'll notice, remember I said that the address was here, and the field for the city was on top of it. So that tells us we need to move it. So we click off, because otherwise you're going to, if you click on one object, try and move them, it's going to move them all. So click off and only choose the one and move that one over. Then go in, and there's your open view. So you've already impacted one set of them at one shot. Any questions? Yes. Pardon? Not the grid lines. They'll help you. They'll help you to line up information. Now, let's just say that we had. Let's say we had this one move down to here, and we wanted to go ahead and line up this one and this one. First of all, we'd click this one, hold your shift key down, because that allows you to select more than one, and you could go to arrange. Now, on arrange, you have this sizing and ordering thing, and you have the ability to do size and space. I can fit, tallest, shortest, etc. And then I can also do my spacing. That means that I can increase the spacing between each of them horizontally, vertically, etc. The next one, align, allows me to go ahead and align them either to the grid, and that's what you were talking about was the grid. You can also do left, right, top, and bottom. Well, I want to align the top for company and first name. All I do is once I've selected them, I hit the top, and notice it moved it up. But my field, which is down here, the first name field, didn't come up with a label because I'd only selected it. Let's do an undo, and now let's select these, which is the company name, and the field as well as the labels, and go up to align and hit the top. That's how easy it is to move around.
Can you show that again?
Yep. Let's do an undo. Let's do another undo. And all you have to do is select the first one, hold your shift key down, and then click whatever you want aligned, go up to alignment, and hit top. And they align. Any questions? That look easy enough? Yes. Go ahead.
So you always right click?
If you want to get to the properties, yes. If you want to select, you'd use the left mouse button. For example, here, I'm clicking on the first one, I'm holding the shift key down, and I'm using the left mouse button in order to select the next one. But if you want to get to properties, then you have to right click and get to properties.
So what's the purpose of this property field?
Properties allow you to, good question. We want to change properties. This allows us to do various things. For example, if we had a field that had numbers in it, we could format decimal places. We could also show it as being currency if it was a currency field. We could also make the object visible, not visible. There are tremendous number of options here that you can actually use in terms of each of the properties. And again, depending on what the object type is, properties will change. They're not all the same, not for every one of them. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah.
So with the property fields, can you change like the text or the size?
You can change on the property field, you have the ability to change multiple things. For example, we're going to take a field here, we go to properties, we can change, wouldn't want to change the name of course, but you can change your formatting, visible. You can also change your text format. For example, you have rich text or whatever, rich text being like a Word file. You also have some other things. So say if it's a date, you could also put up a date picker, which allows you to, you guys are familiar with a date picker where you go in and you click on it next to the item and it brings up a calendar. For example, that would be a date picker. We can also change the back style, back color. You guys will be doing that later on. You won't be doing it in this chapter, but I at least want to introduce you to properties. Other questions? Okay. That, with forms, there's lots of things you can in effect do. You also have a design one that you can also add additional things in. For example, you will be adding in a calculated fields, which is the ABL. The AA, which is up here, which I've highlighted, is a, think of it as another label that you can put in. You also have a button that you can put in that will allow you to go ahead and put code behind it, for example. That'll allow you to do something. If you click a button, it'll produce something. You have some other things up here. For example, we'll do a tab control later on. We also have the World Wide Web. We have the hyperlink here. We have here is a web browser control. And by the way, the web browser control is new to 2010. It wasn't there previously. We also have navigation control as well as some other option groups. Let's say, for example, if you've brought up a form, you've seen where you had radio buttons where you could choose among them. This is what this control does. You also have some others, which is page break. Combo box, we'll get into that later, which allows you to be able to find information on it. There's some others that you have. So there's lots of things that you've got in the design that you can actually put on a form. And we'll get into those later, but I at least want to introduce you to them. Any questions on that? All right, let's go next to a report. And here's a report. Now, a report can have upwards of 7 different areas. For example, we have report header, we have a page header, we have a detail section, we have a page footer, and we have a report footer. And by the way, in this particular case, if you want to get to the area that you see here in gray for the report footer, simply grab and pull it. Now notice I was at that bottom of this, right below on the bottom here, and I was pulling down. That allows you to go ahead and get additional space. All right, in addition, if you wanted to go ahead and put in grouping, we would go up here, and I need grouping, so give me a minute. Design, and I want to add grouping. Give me a minute. Page setup. Okay, we have that. We can also add grouping on this too. And grouping allows us to go ahead and group, let's say we want to group by company. Let's say, for example, a company has ordered a lot of product from you, and you want to separate that and get an analysis of a company and their products they bought from you. You can also set a group up, which means I can get this company, and then I get the products they bought. Then I can say company, the next company, and then the products they bought. We'll get into grouping later too, but I at least want to introduce you to it. Are there any questions at this point? Okay.
The report's more detailed, right?
Yes, report can be very, very detailed.
And that's related to your filter.
As well, filters, or you can use actually with a report, you can actually use both tables as well as queries. In fact, in a majority of time, you will find that most reports that you do will be associated with a query. Most of your reports will not be with a table because when you're doing a report, you're looking for specific information. In other words, you're saying, I want to go ahead and have a report that is for a certain date range. Well, with a table, unless you don't set your date range, but with a query, you can set that and it automatically pull it. It works the same way either way. Question? Yes. The question was, the report is a way to present your findings from a query. Yes, it's a printed way to get a printed copy of what you've actually got in your database. Does that clarify it? Questions? Well, let me take this one and hit the book, which will put me in a report. For example, in this particular case, we're talking, this is customer 9999, which is this company, whatever the company was. And you'll notice in this particular case, each one of these that we've got here are associated with that customer. That's exactly what I was saying. The next one then is we can have another group. Let's say if we set another group up, we can also do it with another company. This one has not got the grouping set yet, but we can add grouping to it. And I'm looking for that. There's your group and sort. And you'll notice when you hit group and sort, and I'm on the design area, group and sort, and you'll notice down here, it has a listing where you can do group and sort. For example, I want to sort by company. Okay, and in this particular case, I want to do it with either A on top or whatever. And then I can add, or in this particular case, I can add a group on company. There it is. And you'll notice that we've just added an additional row. We've got report header, page header, company header, detail, footer, and report footer. Now, if we wanted to go ahead and do summing, for example, on this one, we could also add more, and then we could say, okay, we want to add in a footer section. A footer means that's where I can put information in about a customer. Let's say, for example, I want to add in with totals. I want to go ahead and do it by the group, subtotal in the group footer. And notice, as soon as I did that, I have a company footer. So I have a company footer and a company header. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas. Okay? That's what you can make up. That doesn't mean that you can't have just company header. You could also add additional ones. Let's say you want to go ahead and do it by city. The company might have multiple locations where you've got a company in, let's say, Battle Creek, Michigan, and you got them in Los Angeles. You might want to do a subsort for that also. But to give you an overall view, with the 7 areas, you're basically going to have the page header, and I'm going to show this. I don't think it brought in. Let me bring in company, bring it back in. I'm just going to grab company. I'm going to bring it right up there. Now watch when we do this. And in this particular case, I've got company. It should have done a sort. There it is, Battle Creek Drive, etc. Now notice another thing is that the field itself can get smaller. If you want to enlarge that field, simply grab it here, open it up, and as we scroll down, there's Battle Creek Dental Partners. So the thing is, your data may be there, but it's hidden because the field isn't wide enough. Questions? All right, now
I have something.
go ahead.
I guess I don't understand what grouping is exactly.
And we'll get into that. I'll get in more into grouping in terms of that. Grouping simply means we're trying to put it by some category. That's the way to think of grouping as category. All right, now the way to check your printout is to go into print preview. Now in this particular case, let's see how many pages it gives me. All right, I'm going to go in design view. By the way, I'm going to hit close print preview. I'm going to go into design view and I'm going to do something. I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull this over to 15. All right, I'm going to take my customer type and I'm going to move it over. Now what I have done is, remember, we're in portrait view, or I'm sorry, we're in landscape view. If you think landscape on a standard printed out piece of paper, what would be your margins on either side? About 10 inches, right? Because you normally consider half an inch in either side. Now let's see what this report does, because I'm outside of that parameter. Right now I'm sitting on 13. So let's go open. And now let's see how many pages, if we go into a print preview, how many pages that I'm actually talking about. Okay, how many pages have I got so far? Let's go to the end. And I had 10, right? Now let's go back. Let's go back and do a design view, and let's do some undos. All right, now let's look at it. And let's go into print view. Now let's look at number of pages. 5 pages. So be aware, that if you have extra space, white space on the side here, check your margins. See if it went past where the printout would be. Sometimes, in fact, I can tell you categorically, the first time you create one of these, you're going to have it to where it has an extra page. And that's why. Questions? Thank you. And I'm going to stop this.